So hello, and welcome to another ResearchHub community call, where I believe the first topic on the agenda, and I'm sure Jeff will start to, oh, here's Jeff, start to filtering in. We want to talk about the branding of the ResearchHub community. I know like we kind of like started off as the ResearchHub DAO and then kind of like transitioned to the ResearchHub community as sort of like a title for like the community arm of the project. But yeah, we were thinking about like better ways to title this, and I guess Jeff, do you have any like thoughts or more context there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm in the microscope room here. Yeah, so it's generally what Patrick said. So we began as kind of a DAO, but I think like based off of the structure, we almost felt like it was like a hybrid DAO where there's like the ResearchHub Inc. team is developing out the platform, and then there's the ResearchHub community, which is kind of doing a lot more on the marketing and like partnerships and token side of things. And so I think the term community is kind of maybe not so representative, where it feels like there's a lot of kind of tasks and jobs that are being done by the community. And I think when we start communicating with other projects and protocols and DAOs, kind of coming from the perspective of a community might sound a little bit informal. And so just wanted to open up the discussion to see if people had a preference on should the quote unquote community itself just be coined the DAO, or we can go with ResearchHub community as it is, or alternatively something like ResearchHub Foundation, to give it an air of like professionalism or something like that. So interested to hear your thoughts.
I guess like one other piece of context, the reason why Foundation is a favorite is because we have a legal entity named the ResearchHub Foundation that like technically minted all of the research coins and everything. So it'd be pretty easy to just kind of like use that legal entity sort of to represent the community.
But then the one weird thing about that is that the ResearchHub Foundation will actually have employees probably in the future. So the question is like, where do we draw the distinction there too? Was something we talked about.
I guess, does anybody have like a strong like emotional feeling between like ResearchHub DAO versus community versus foundation?
I kind of second what Jeff said. Maybe coming from the community, like saying community is probably like a little bit informal when we refer like with other projects. So I like foundation, and Brian kind of referred to us as a foundation in his blog post as well. So I think it'd be a good way to kind of like start using that instead of community. I would, maybe refrain from using DAOs until we actually kind of like get to that point.
Would we ever be a DAO? I mean, autonomous, like what does that mean
So
in our context?
These are just my 2 cents.
I prefer foundation personally. I think it makes more sense, but I'm just wondering, like, I feel like the idea of a DAO was that it's this like organization that's basically runs on chain essentially, and I'm not sure that's what ResearchHub is, even if it manifests itself to be years from now, whatever. I'm not sure that's what it is. I guess that's what I'm saying.
My perspective is that honestly, 95% of projects that call themselves a DAO, they're not really a DAO. Like right. Even 95 is probably like not even.
Probably, not right.
So we can just like be, we don't have to be a DAO just because it's cool to call us a DAO. And I think we need to be what we really are. And at this point, I think we are something in between a community and a foundation, because we're doing a lot of work. And again, like a community is just a group of people, but here it's a group of people that actually does stuff. So I really think foundation could be fitting for what we're doing.
It's more than a fan club.
Definitely more.
I like foundation too, just because like thinking about interfacing with like high quality scientists, like they probably don't even really know what a DAO is, and a community, that's a pretty amorphous term. But foundation is very common, like the Gates Foundation, or the, like, I guess the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, but like there's a lot of foundations hanging out in academic science. So I think that, people understand that without needing like extra context.
Yeah, I guess the second question that I'd have for everyone, so it seems like the consensus is on foundation, and I wholeheartedly agree. The follow-up question I have for that would be for like public-facing things, so like for like social medias and mediums and things like that, would you guys prefer to keep it as the ResearchHub community, but when we're engaging with like a formal entity of sorts, we would identify ourselves as a foundation, or for like internal like documents and things like that? Is that okay, or would you guys prefer to be outwardly facing as ResearchHub Foundation?
I think keeping it uniform could be nice just for consistency for new people entering, as long as it's not too big of a headache to kind of rework all of our outward-facing content to be like that.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm trying to think of Uniswap, because they have a similar org as us, which is there's like a community, and I believe they are a foundation. They just passed a governance proposal for it, but I'm not sure if they're like outwardly facing as a foundation. But if everybody agrees that we should like keep everything consistent, then we can make a push for that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thanks for bringing it up, Jeff, because I do think moving to foundation, it just sounds nice. I like it a lot.
Yep, totally. And Ellie said keep consistent as well. So, okay, we'll make a push for that then.
Cool. Yeah, so just moving on, the next topic, and I think like while we have Kobe here, I guess Kobe, did you have a chance to throw together some like quick whimsicals on the bounty for meta studies feature, how we're thinking about it?
Yeah, very very quick ones. Yeah, so as we may have mentioned in previous weeks, the next iteration of the bounty feature will be a bounty for meta studies. There's like a bunch of ways to tackle this, but as a first step, we're thinking, what can we do that's going to assist with bounties for meta studies, as well as sorry, I had COVID last week, so still recovering. So anyways, like what can we do that can assist with bounties for meta studies, as well as improve the overall UX on the site. So we thought about it a bunch. What we think is a next step can work is something like improving how our citations work. So specifically when you paste a link to a ResearchHub URL, or even like just any link that has a DOI, improving the UX of what happens next. So I spent a little bit of time before the call thinking about that. And let me show you, and we can talk about that afterwards. Yeah, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So what I was thinking about is that, well, currently, another point I want to make is that a lot of the bounty solutions are just plain old comments, and that can work fine for some maybe trivial bounties, but as we progress and build upon the bounty feature, we want to be able to leverage the notebook functionality as much as possible, or at least more than what it is being used at the moment. So at step one, the UX I'm talking about will live in the notebook, and maybe we can extend to the comment feature as well. So imagine you're like maybe replying to a bounty. Like I think a good example of like is what Brian asked on ResearchHub, which is like sugar substitutes safe to consume, right? So maybe your response is lengthy one, and you want to use the notebook feature. So you come here, you can ignore the title, right? It's all copy pasted from the site. You write some text. Now it comes to pasting a link. So you want to paste a link to your study. You paste that link, and maybe the first thing that happens, we change the link URL to the name of the study or the paper, because we recognize it's a ResearchHub URL, and now we can do some cool things with it. We can style it a little differently, right? So now it appears like this, some study about mice, and then maybe another idea that I had is that a lot of our papers, and like in general, are missing some crucial data that I think would be awesome to kind of like be able to showcase some of this data that's missing at a glance, if it wasn't missing. So what I mean by that is, imagine you pasted the link, and then we can show a bit of an exclamation next to the URL that you pasted, letting you know that maybe some data could be updated. And you click on that, and now you can enter some various data points. And it doesn't have to work exactly like this, but the point here is that you pasted a link and you're responding to a meta study, and now you have the opportunity to enter some data point, like what is the study type, how many participants, and if an abstract is missing, you have the opportunity to enter the abstract as well. Kind of like what you can do right now when you go to a paper page and click edit, but this is just like a quick way of doing it. And then if you did do this, and we have a bunch of the metadata, and now like your posts have been submitted, now imagine the next step that will happen. This is like a submitted post. So you enter the data, you click publish, it's submitted as a solution on ResearchHub. People can hover over the link, and they can maybe see at a glance some of the data that you entered, like the study was a randomized control study trial, number of participants, the abstract, and all kinds of good, useful information, kind of like what Wikipedia does. If you go to Wikipedia and you hover over any link, you can see a little bit of a preview. So I'm thinking something like that. At least, as I mentioned, this is not exactly like a solution to a meta-study bounty, or this is just a UX improvement that can assist in a solution to a meta-study. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to showcase, kind of like starting a conversation and seeing, gauging what everyone thinks. And if it was clear even,
I think it looks great as a first pass. It's a really unique way to do it. One thing it could be really cool that I thought about is that, so where you have it says edit paper data, it looks like you have a study type and a participants. Do you think that's something that could be changed depending on who creates the meta study? So for example, if I create a meta study and I want people to gather participants, age, cardiovascular health, and all these other fields, where I know specifically what type of data it's going to be, whether it's going to be a string or just a couple numbers or anything like that, do you think you can have a form that we can build out so we can gather more refined data?
So you're thinking, so the link I was referring to, this is a study that already exists. So you're thinking this form would already be like kind of like a form input for a study that already exists as well, Tyler?
Kind of more like usually when you're doing these kind of studies, you're usually trying to target a couple things in each study, and like participants is important, like the N, but then maybe also it's something else about each participant. Maybe it's like, cardiovascular health, is that present? Just
yeah, absolutely. So this will be very, we can make this as custom as possible. I mean, as as also like based on different criteria, we can show different forms. So if you select randomized control trial or whatever it is the criteria you want, we can show different fields. So yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
It looks great, I mean, for serious meta studies, but could it be something for fostering new hypotheses? I mean, something not so formal.
I think maybe, I'm not sure. Can it foster a new hypothesis? I think it can help, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's like this feature targets hypotheses like specifically.
Yeah, maybe something related to summaries of papers. I mean, I don't know how, but maybe we can think about that to create more content, because it's difficult to create meta studies at small scale without having serious information that could impede the participation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I'm not like, so at the very least, like everything I showed you here, at the very least, the minimum thing that will happen is probably you paste a link, and whatever data we have, we can show you in a tooltip when you publish whatever it is that you were going to publish. Now, everything here in between is optional. I wanted to just make sure that that's clear as well. So yeah, I don't have any more feedback, but if anyone has any ideas on how to make a meta study bounty feature better, please, you can let us know right now, or at any other channel. Just let us know.
I guess one question I have is when you put in the URL or the DOI into the
Yeah.
notebook and then have it automatically transform into something else, like what would you all like to see there? Is it like just a like superscript 1 that then like, you know, links to a works cited at the bottom of the post? Or is it like a parentheses like Atias Joyce, comma 2022? Like, or is it the paper title like we had? Like, what would you all like to see like the URL automatically turn into when you're trying to like compose a meta study to answer like a bounty asking for meta studies?
I think it's the standard reference kind of like citation style. So I would say the brackets could be a good one. So is this kind of like designed in a way that it should ideally work with like more than one, or is that it's been built for just one? So like this is my short summary and this is the associated reference, or could it be something like this is my summary and these are my references?
Yeah, we want to do a bunch, like like just one if you just want one, but if you want to do like 100, you could also do that as well. And then we're kind of thinking too, like another thing we can potentially do if we can, incentivize people to put in like the study type and like the number of participants, but we could like kind of automate the creation of a table like this. So when you put in your 100 references, we can have like the title and the authors. And then if you pull out randomized control trial, we can say like that's a quality grade of like an A-, compared to a case study, which may be like like a C+ or something like that, and try and automate a little bit of like how relevant are these like sources to the question at hand. And that's kind of what we're thinking on, like how do we make like it easier to answer meta studies?
Who would grade this? The author of the meta study?
We can automate it to like a certain degree where like we could just start out with something very simple. Like if it's a randomized control trial, it's an A-. If it's a meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials, then it's an A+. If it's a case control or cohort study, it's a B- or something like that. Like just based on like normal evidence stuff. And then over time, maybe even include stuff like effect size, based on like a given outcome. Another column we're thinking about adding is like outcome of interest, like from the study, to like actually say like if you're thinking of like longevity and artificial sweetener consumption, you could say like the outcome is like quality of life years increased or something in one study that was like a retrospective cohort. So that has like a grade of a B-, but it was also 500,000 people. So it's actually just a B now instead of a B- or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
it's really going to the direction of like getting more people involved and be interested about the question and submitting potentially some studies. So yeah, maybe I don't know, like it's a good first iteration, I think, and maybe going forward, if we see that this has some some interest, maybe finding a way to have the basically the author of the meta study be somewhat a moderator for his own posts, so like be able to accept or delete maybe potential new references that are being added.
Totally. Like there's like an owner of the meta study who like approves or deletes pull requests or whatever.
Exactly.
We definitely thought about that.
Awesome.
Cool. I guess Kobe, you feeling good? Any other feedback you'd like to grab?
Yeah. So I guess like and we're brainstorming here. I'm trying to think about like how do we build the best feature that we can. So like right now, what I showed you is basically there's going to be one or group of people that are going to be working on a notebook page, and they're going to write like, I don't know, something like a narrative review, paste some links in, and we'll be able to make him look good and more effectively convey what the links are about, and so that the bounty solution is just a bit more buttoned up. However, I'm just trying to think about like if we were to, I'm just trying to think about if there is like a crowd sourced way of doing it other than the obvious of like you create a notebook page and maybe some people can like Ricardo mentioned, like I don't know, like edit your page and submit a pull request, and kind of like that page you published is now mutating into something else, into something bigger than what you started. So what I'm trying to ask is like, does anyone have any other ideas about how a meta study feature can be implemented? And it's okay if no one has anything. I mean, I know we talked about it last week too. Oh, Malik?
Yeah, I mean, as far as your second comment about like how it can be changing like from what you originally started, I mean, we can have like somebody directly able to like contact the author about like some comment or some changes that they would recommend, and then the author can make that change in the write-up itself, rather than like people constantly changing that, like Wikipedia style. That would be, I don't know, like how we would end up with the study itself if it's too many people changing it at the same time.
Yeah, I'm thinking that in that case, Malik, it'll be like a pull request style model where the author or like authors of a post will be the ones to approve, as opposed to anyone just edit and their changes automatically taken. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. we'll ship something and iterate on it. Thanks for the feedback.
Thanks, Kobe.
The next thing we want to chat about is thinking about a referral bonus for like bringing in new people to ResearchHub. I think this is kind of a continuation from the conversation of last week when we were thinking like, hey, maybe for meta study, there's like an editor who claims it, or like we were just saying, like an author of the meta study who then invites experts to like co-author a post with them. So that was the context we were originally thinking, where maybe like if you invite a high quality user to ResearchHub, you get a return of like 15% of their research coin earnings for the next 6 months or something like that get added on to like your account. So we're like pretty open to doing this in like a bunch of different ways. Like it either can be like just for editors to bring new people in. It could be for any user to bring new people in. We could gate who you're allowed to bring in. Say like we need like a PhD in biochemistry in order to answer this specific meta study. So like we could say, you know, have some kind of like reputation measure where only like PhDs who are referred are eligible to like have rewards earned from. It's basically pretty much whatever we want to do. We just want to make the referral feature like actually compelling and worthwhile for people. So yeah, curious if anybody has any thoughts on like how we could structure like a V2 of our referral feature to try and encourage others to like invite experts to come in and ideally stick around for at least 6 months.
To give to the persons who come an amount of research coin if they're posting some papers or answering some bounties.
Yeah, we would definitely do that. There'd be like some kind of reward for like the referrer and the referee. In theory, like if you're a scientist who has a couple publications out there, like you can claim those pretty quickly and have like a nice little bonus. And then maybe even the referrer, you know, gets 15% of all those paper claimed plus more activity.
I really like the idea of getting a cut of the research coin that are being earned, not really because of like the amount, but more because it really reflects the activity. So it would be easier, like would be really easy for us to like invite a bunch of people that just like sign in and just sign up and not do anything. But tying that to the activity, I think it's a really good way to basically be like, you know, you have to stay in here and like get involved. So you want to, you know, get other people excited. So I'm wondering if you could transfer that down to like referees of the referees. So like, you know, that person gets other people in. That could be like a minor cut, could be like a 2%, I don't know. But that could be, you know, you can get it down so that you get even more people excited.
Yeah, we could definitely do like 2 layers to it if that's what you all thought was the best strategy. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know if this was what Ricardo was referencing, but I was thinking something like a tiered system, but where it goes exponential. So you'll earn like 2% of the fees if they just come in and they do a few tasks, and maybe their reputation goes from like 100 to 102, and so you're like, oh, that's not very many things that they've done, but you earn 2% on those. And as they start going into upper echelons of, you know, hey, they've claimed 10 papers and they've done all these things. Well, now you're earning 5%, and then you're earning 10% if they've done all these extraordinary things. So really incentivizing someone to hunt down a quality person rather than somebody that's like kind of just going to come on board and do not much.
Yeah, totally. I guess, do you have like an example of another project that uses their kind of like exponential referral bonus like that we could get?
I don't. Yeah, I just kind of thought of it. So, but if anyone knows of one, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. It makes a lot of sense. I guess like I'm just thinking of like, it might be better to copy something that like has worked. Do you know what I mean? For sure.
Let me see. I think I know GMX has a referral that's really successful. I'll look into that right now.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Clubhouse was functioning a lot when they have the referral program, but without monetizing a lot.
Yeah, Clubhouse is interesting because there's no money associated with it, and they had stuff where like the person who invited you was in your profile. So like if I invited Kobe in Kobe's like profile, you could see me seeing like the person who referred them. I think that would work if we had some kind of like gated feature, like maybe like you have to be approved in order to like earn a bounty or something like that. So if we wanted to like create a walled garden to a certain degree, I think we could do the Clubhouse method, but I think it's probably less effective if there's no like kind of like social exclusivity that comes with it. Nice, Jeff. Thanks for sending.
Yeah, so actually they do a tiered system. I didn't know that, but GMX is by far the most referenced referral that I've seen on Twitter for almost any DeFi project. So it seems to be working, and their metrics are going exponential on Arbitrum. So I think it's a good one to base it off of.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for grabbing it. Tyler?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any room for like a networking feature on this, because one of the big thing in academics is like who you know. And so like if you're, kind of bringing these people on board, it could be cool to show that you have some connection to them, maybe either through like a reputation score or something more informal, like a connections. I think there might be something there.
Yeah, I think we should probably get into some element of like followers, like being able to follow other users. So yeah, almost like LinkedIn connections. Like if you invited somebody, you could start out automatically following them and having them follow you, something like that. Is that kind of what you're thinking of?
Yeah, I guess I meant a little more in terms of like adding to your reputation in the field, but as long as people are a little exclusive about who they follow, that would work as well.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely do something like that. Mark?
Yeah, on the point of networking, I think this has been mentioned before, but I think if we have some way or form to have directly message somebody on ResearchHub, that would be really good. Like not all discussion, about the paper, but like something about your career, you have a question or some connection you want to make, because it's a community of big community of scientists, and it would be nice to do that.
Yeah, totally. I think we'll eventually get there for sure. Even with like the bounties for meta studies feature, we've kind of thought about like collab tree as an example, and they allow for like private DMs to talk about like a project you'd be working on beforehand. So if we built that out, I think it wouldn't be too tough to build out, something else for everybody else to use. Yeah, DMs are, at least Kobe, correct me if I'm wrong, DMs feel a little bit tough because I'm not sure if we can like totally monitor it. And if people are like spamming, or like, we want to make sure people have good experiences. So maybe you have to like pay research coin to someone in order to DM them or something, just to put a barrier up. But yeah, I do think helping to make connections is probably like a pretty important way to help us grow ResearchHub.
I think paying RC for contacting someone is actually a really good thing that we should have, and would differentiate us from other platforms. Like people would actually, come to ResearchHub. Something cool would be like, I don't know if that's possible. I know that like on Google Scholar, you can see the co-authors, but it's like up to you to list your co-authors in basically the right side of your page. It would be really cool to see like, I don't know, Tyler's co-authors, and see if there's someone that I could be interested in talking to and be like, hey, Tyler, could you, kind of like introduce me to this guy here? Or even, his co-authored another paper with another person that I'm interested in. You know what I'm saying? It could be like really, really cool if you get a pretty, size community, at least like in a specific sphere, we get a decent sized community that could make those, connections and create opportunities for people that are looking to interact with others that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to do so on other platforms.
What if Tyler is not on the platform anymore? I mean,
yeah, in that case, it will probably be possible. But let's say I go to Tyler's profile and I know in like really quick. It should be something that I see, you know, in like 5 seconds. I see there's like he has authored some papers with some specific professors. Maybe they're ranked by their credentials and so on. I see someone that I'm interested in. I could ask Tyler to vouch for kind of like me and be like, hey, I would like to be introduced to this person.
This is
I
really
like that.
cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be cool if there's a button for like suggest an introduction, and then me, you know, I can either accept or request more information, and then give a justification to this mutual connection. I think that's really cool.
And I haven't seen it around.
I like the use of co-authorship to create like a network too, because like LinkedIn sometimes it's kind of lame because like you connect with people who like you wouldn't really feel comfortable like being like, hey, let me introduce my friend to you. You know, like we don't really actually know each other, you know, but if you co-author something with somebody, like you've got to be like fairly close. And even like maybe in the future you co-authorship with someone you want to work with, or like on a peer review through ResearchHub to increase your like co-authorship network, you know, or something like that. But yeah, co-authorship connections that's pretty interesting. I like that a lot. I was thinking back on the referral feature. We like the kind of like exponential rewards like GMX. Does anybody have any other kind of examples of referrals or referral programs that have worked well in the past?
Amazon.
Amazon referral. So like that's like affiliate marketing kind of thing.
Yeah.
We could do something where it's like if you write a blog about like your 10 favorite, you know, science papers and include links to ResearchHub in them. Yeah, interesting. I wonder if we could get people like new scientists to cite the ResearchHub version of a paper rather than just like the actual one.
Maybe discount codes for something.
I mean, the difficulty is just quality with that. But if you can ensure quality and that it doesn't seem tacky, I mean, get some research coin. Why not? A lot of projects.
When you say tacky, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. I'm just if you're making, let's say, tokens available to people for doing things, you just want to make sure that whatever they do looks legit. That's all. Because if they're gonna write an article just for the tokens, you know, maybe they do something that's not so good. I don't know. People, you remember we had, you know, those Nigerian people who made a bunch of accounts and try to comment on their own accounts to see if they can earn research coin, right? People will do anything if money is on the line. So just some sort of quality control is what I'd say. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great point. Do you think like requiring that people, you know, have PhDs or like at least one paper that they could claim, would that be a solid like filter? So that way, like you have to say who you actually are. You have to be like a real person with like a real reputation at stake, kind of.
Interesting. I'm just, what would be the downside of doing that?
Just maybe excluding non-academics.
Well, I mean, do we? Because I mean, we want undergrads using this. Undergrads don't have publications, but they're most likely to be early adopters. So I would say that that's a potential reason not to do that, but I don't know. I'd like to hear other people's thoughts on that.
Ricardo?
I think from a pure game theory perspective, what we could do is have the referrer has some skin in the game. So let's say you refer something that is really not good. Well, your reputation can be downgraded, or you know, you get some sort of like malus. I think that's the best way to prevent weird stuff from happening. Being like, okay, that's me that I referred him to come on the platform and contribute. If it doesn't behave, you know, it's my problem.
So would we, for something like the what Iona talked about, getting research coin or whatever for, referencing research or coin an article, would we only do it based on like you have to refer somebody to do it, or would we have to, or would we just want to do like straight up screening?
Yeah, I'm not sure if like the affiliate marketing makes total sense at like this exact moment. Maybe at some point in the future. I think it would have to be more like I'm inviting this content creator, specifically because I know them as like in my real life, and yeah, I earned some research coin for doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that makes sense.
Baki?
Hi. I'm in the last 3 months, I'm so busy with finishing my thesis. But I have 2 ideas about marketing and bringing new people to the community and the research hub. The one is that we just started the new academic year, and maybe we can organize a little competition, maybe like science to earn. So we can design a poster, and then we can invite students, undergrads, postgrads, and some academics to share like one essay, one article around 2,000 words, 3,000 words, 5,000 words, to bring them to the open science, to ResearchHub, and then we can reward them like 2,000 research coin, 5,000 research coin, maybe a little competition, 1 to 3rd place, more research coin to them. And also in this way, we can invite students and our colleagues at the universities in person and explain them to the research hub. So one of the ideas of mine is this one. And the second one is that maybe most of us are still continuing their academic life at the university, some of us as PhD students and some of us as teaching. So maybe we can organize some events at universities, Research Hub can sponsor to these events. And then at the beginning of these events, we can explain the platform and the community, and then we can invite these people in person again. So I guess we can use these 2 ideas to bring new people to the community.
I think these are both great ideas. We had a conversation a little while ago about like maybe making some kind of materials for people to give presentations at local universities, and then we could like help to like buy, like pizza and beer, for anybody who shows up or something. I think that would be really effective. So I'll do some more research into what we need to like actually put together in order to help like everyone in the community, who wants to do that kind of thing to do it. Because I do think it's like the hand-to-hand combat and like having scientists meet us and see that we're real people who care about these actual problems that affect their lives. It's a lot more compelling than any kind of interaction you can just have online. So I think we should totally do that. I love the competition idea too. One idea that we had thought about a while ago is like having like a meta study of the month or something, where like there's one question, like it'll be like, this month on Research Hub, we're talking about artificial sweeteners and longevity, and we like try and push everybody to share like an opinion on artificial sweeteners and longevity, and maybe we like reach out to a couple experts, saying, hey, we're having this competition, do you want to participate? And like push everything towards like one meta study every month. And we could easily do a competition where it's like, like maybe the person who created, the bounty gets to pick their top 3 or something like that. And then we just manually reward them with research coin. So yeah, I love that idea. If you wanted to like help make it happen, I would chat with like Jeff and Ricardo, and I think we could pretty much manually do that. Like we could pin the meta study at the top of Research Hub, every month, and just like post a bunch to try and get people to answer it, and even include it in like the community update that we're going to send out. So yeah, I think that would be a great idea, even just to like foster like just general interactions within the community. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Baki. Those are great suggestions. Tyler?
Just as part of what he just said, I think it could be really cool to have new users that want to claim their referral bonus, create some sort of content. So maybe you gate the referral bonus behind submitting your first peer review or your first summary or your first bounty question, and letting them kind of claim like a tiered reward to get them engaged.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is like maybe this referral comes through, like it's basically like the bounty has to be already created, and then like Jeff would be like, oh, I know Tyler would be a great person to answer this. So the email is basically like, do you want to come and answer this bounty? And then it gets claimed once there's like an answer, and maybe we have something else tied to expertise or something.
Yeah, I like that. And even for suggesting papers, like, hey, it's a paper that fits your area, maybe you could suggest a peer review.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like that too, because I found myself already doing that outside of having any referral like incentive on top of it. So I'll bring in like a friend who's like a cardiologist or a friend who's a veterinarian, and I know they can answer the question with an incentive on top of that. I'm sure a lot of people would.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just to repeat back, it seems like it would be more exciting if we did the referrals through the bounty feature rather than just like referring anyone to ResearchHub. It would basically be a referral to complete this specific bounty that already exists.
I think that could be part of it. I think what I said was slightly different. Just a suggestion is like, if I invite anybody, maybe as they complete certain tasks on ResearchHub, like doing any one of these pieces of content, they gain an additional small part of a referral bonus.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess what I'm thinking here, maybe like the design space is large on the referral bonus. So I'll put together a spreadsheet with like 3 or 4 different options. And then it would be good to do a call at some point with anybody who wanted to share feedback. And we just all chat pros and cons on all of them and then build what everybody is most excited about. Cool. Yeah, thank you though. This is a great discussion. I think this will actually work pretty well. So excited to be able to put it together. I guess the next thing we have is a recap of RP6. I guess Tyler or Jeff, do you guys want to chat about that?
I just suggested that I'm probably not the best person for it. Maybe Jeff would.
I mean, yeah. So it's essentially just like the budget and the approval to do the hackathon. And so the hackathon is going to be like based off of scientific reputation. And I'm actually going to hot potato pass it over to Ricardo, because he's been the one that's been spearheading this, and I know he's talked with Kobe about some of the design for this, so maybe he could fill us in.
Yeah, I can give a brief introduction in this like couple of minutes. We have so the hackathon is tentatively going live in the 2nd of December, running for about 10 days. Similarly to Cycon. We'll open it up, and differently from Cycon, we'll have only one competition. So the idea here would be to basically build an event about around a new system for basically awarding, kind of like attributing reputation to scientists and non-scientists based on their ResearchHub activity and their academic credentials or academic activity, let's say, outside of ResearchHub. So we have the task force basically created, so we'll take care again of marketing, content creation, and so on. We'll put up a website similar with what we did with Cycon, and hopefully this time we will also have more time, so we'll start marketing way earlier, and we'll in order to do this, we had to create RIP6 for basically getting everyone on board with the budget that we intended to use for this event. So I just as a general reminder, please cast your vote, even if it's you think it's not too important. These proposals really show the community participation. So if you ever get a chance, cast your vote on these proposals. And if you have any questions, please let us know, because we're always I'm more than free to talk about this. These are really important matters for the community.
Cool. Yeah, I guess, does anybody have any questions about RP6 or the reputation hackathon? I'm glad we're doing this, because reputation is I think a pretty critical piece of ResearchHub for all of our features. So it's nice that we've got an activation energy to make us do something about it. So I appreciate you doing that, Ricardo. And it would just fit so well with a lot of the stuff we're doing now. So yeah, it's perfect timing.
Yeah, I also do think that it's it's really important, and maybe something that I could anticipate here is that we will have to basically gather a data set, with a lot of data coming from basically Google Scholar or Scopus. So if you have any idea on what's the best way to get some information from those databases, please reach out, because that's something that we'll have to do and prepare basically for the participants. Because what we'll do is provide the participants with 2 databases, some profiles of people on ResearchHub and some profiles of people with some academic credentials. And the idea would be, given these data, you should create an algorithm that spits out a score, and that score is also tied to the academic discipline where that person is more more an expert, let's say. Okay, so is more confident like doing. So this is tied also to our hub structure that will change a bit in the future. So yeah, just like long story short, if you have anyone that knows how to easily and quickly get access to those data from, I don't know if there's any API from like Google Scholar or Scopus, please get in contact, reach out to me. So feel free to DM me, because that's something that we'll need to do in the next couple of weeks.
There are some SEOs that handle that analysis, but some of them are paid to see the analytics where the problems of the education are, or target audience. I'll DM you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try. I'm not an expert.
Yeah. I mean, any help is appreciated, because not an expert either. So if you have any potential, idea, yeah, just send me the email.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I guess in the last 5 minutes here, Johan, I see your question here about processing fees. Do you mind going into or sharing a little bit more context?
Yes. We all know how difficult it is for scientists to get their paper or their studies published. So I thought that maybe ResearchHub in time could ease this process. I think it will attract a lot of people from both sides. Either they are attracted to the blockchain or to the community part. And I think maybe we can digitize or automatize this. For example, by being transparent how we are charging some taxes, or a software that calculates taxes. But this is future plans, and I think it's needed because many universities are facing restructuring, and it could be an idea. I'm open to any idea.
I guess just to clarify, with processing fees, are you talking about like article processing like charges, like the business model for most open access journals? I think it makes a lot of sense. That's like Jeff's friends have a journal where there's no cost to publish and no cost to actually like read the information. So I think it's like a little bit trendy, like things are going in that direction, and we can help essentially compensate peer reviewers for reviewing articles without a charge. I think we'd probably have to have some kind of charge, maybe like $100, like something like way smaller, just to help to pay for the peer review time. But yeah, I think this would be a great goal if we could somehow, disrupt like APC charging open access journals.
Yeah, but some PhDs or graduates are connected to the university. So maybe in this way we can attract some universities or something that uses our platform.
It would go along really well with like a kind of the hand-to-hand combat presentation. If we give presentations on open access publishing to universities, and then at the end it's like, you could use ResearchHub where there's barely any fee. I think that's a nice little way to tie it all together.
Mm-hmm. But
Cool.
Why are you reluctant to charging anything? Because this could be like interconnected system. Like the universities are letting the scientists to come to us, and we are advertising the university, and the university is advertising us, and it's a connection.
Yeah, totally. I think universities would be pretty into it. I know Georgetown, where I went to school, had like an institutional repository where they would just like make a lot of authors put stuff online, and the UX was awful. So like we could basically just replace that for a lot of universities. It's worth a sales call. I should probably do some cold emails to try and see if people would be like, interested in that concept. So I can try and do some research there. I guess with like the last couple of minutes here, any like thoughts, feedback, criticisms, ideas that you'd like to share with our team over the next week?
The new homepage looks dope. I love it.
Yeah, I like it.
I love it. So I don't know if Kobe's still here. I don't think so. No, it's not. But I told him already. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I know we're really lucky. Kobe and Calvin went nuts on that, and it was like a very self-directed effort, basically from Tyler's survey that said that everything was way too busy. And so I think if you look at it now, it looks so much cleaner. And yeah, thank you for that, Tyler, because that was like basically like the push we needed to do something about it. Having some data saying like, hey, this is way too busy. Like we were able to make a change. So yeah, I agree. I think it looks really nice. I saw it on like a friend's laptop yesterday, and I was like, oh shit, like that looks clean. Like that looks like a real website. Nice. Like, so yeah, I'm a big fan too. Thanks for saying that, Ricardo.
Only one quick thing. What's the reason for the notebook and the publish button? Isn't that this like I was kind of, it felt a little redundant, but maybe there's another reason for that.
It's very redundant. We had someone who basically sent us an email and was like, this person is working on like a diagnostic for dog diabetes. So like they're like have a product and they've like done some research about their product and they want to publish like the research about their product. And so they came to ResearchHub and basically sent us an email and said like, hey, I have no idea how to publish on this thing. Like, how do I do that? And so I got on a call with them and they basically said like they didn't get the notebook button and they wanted like a big red flashing publish button, to be like, if they show up and they want to share something, like, how do I do that? So yeah, this is basically just a like experiment to see if it helps to capture, more people, because notebook is an inherently different thing than publish. Like notebook is like, let me write down my notes, and publish is let me share this with the world. So just to see, yeah, we're not sure what the best like CTA is to get people to the notebook. And this was like one specific instance where somebody who wanted to share like, unique research on ResearchHub basically asked us to put a publish button. So it is kind of weird. We're testing things out. If it's like really weird, let us know and we can get rid of one of them. But yeah, we just wanted to see if it like worked or to get some data on what people click more.
I think it does make sense. Maybe it feels a little redundant now because the publishing workflow is same as going to the notebook, but maybe in the near future that changes and you get prompted to a specific page where it helps you getting published on ResearchHub. So that's actually different. And the notebook is just your notebook. So that actually makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It's actually even triple exposed because you can go to plus new and then like share a post. And so that's another way to get to the notebook. So it's
yeah.
We had a retrospective like in our eng team, and one of the complaints was this exact thing. And this is a function of us not having a full-time design person, who can know exactly how to funnel people who want to publish into the publish, environment. But we'll get there, I think, not too long from now. So yes, Malik, did you have like a final thought?
Yeah, I know we're running out of time, but there was an error that I was getting over the weekend. I think many people too, for the bounties feature. Do we know it's up and running back, or are we still waiting for that? I think we were not, when we click on answering a bounty or like replying to a bounty since Saturday, it was giving error to few people actually.
I think this should be fixed. I could be wrong. Has anybody tried it?
I can try again.
We talked about it in our Edge thing maybe like 4 hours ago. So I think Kobe jumped on it, but I'm not 100% sure if it's ready. Should be fixed, or I guess. If it's not yet, let me know and I will ping the engineers.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you guys like all letting us know when something breaks. It's definitely like we've got to have that fixed like right away. So thank you all for posting in the bug reports.
Sure. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, Jeff's got a rave going. All right,
Yeah,
guys,
which is not cool. I'm in the microscope room.
it's even better. Any last thoughts before we get out of here? Great. Yeah, well, thank you all for attending and all the great ideas. See you all next Monday.